things in my head about the leadership of the parties.
So, parties, I think, are kind of...
You kind of have to pick one out here.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to explain to some people on TikTok the other day that don't really understand what it's like in Kansas.
So the Kansas Democratic Party has had a lot of problems since about 2015. I don't know the full story behind all of that, but I know
I've
there
never
was
got past the county level.
Yeah, I know there was a democracy fest, and a lot of internal things erupted, and it was nuts.
It feels like the counties are a lot on their own to me.
They are.
To build their own infrastructure.
So I became the county chair for Rooks County, roughly 2022, 2023, something like that. And
you were the what?
The county chair.
County chair for
Rooks County.
Is that like the second in command of the?
That's
the
vice
chair.
President
or the president.
President
In Xavier County,
the
they call it president, vice president.
Yeah.
The chair.
Yeah, the chair. So I was the chair, and we have about 20 people that show up on various things, and we'll work on projects and stuff. But one, people are scared. If you are an out and proud Democrat, you are very likely to be ridiculed. You're very likely to be isolated even more than you already are in rural spaces. And then the third problem is your message. It's almost like messaging against a rock. Like your sound just bounces right off of it, and it doesn't matter. So we've had to take a different tact. And so we had to start having community conversations. We started doing things in a nonpartisan manner. We started coming together as a team and thinking of, okay, what's all the things that we can do? And then going for nonpartisan positions, not as Democrats, but as saying, okay, we're coming in, we know what the rules are, we're going to get these projects done to better the community, that it's for us, so that as a community, we don't have to worry about these things the way we've been worrying about them.
That is something that marginalized groups have done. The like African American community, or they have built systems that are outside of the system because the system is not for them, right? And so I think that it's, something that everybody should be doing,
Well, I want to shout out to two organizations real fast. The first one is Rural Organizing. You can check them out at ruralorganizing.org.
Definitely.
The second one is the Rural Defenders Union, which was a project of the Rural Organizing. So I found Rural Organizing online one day, and it just turned out that Nick Lewandowski, who happens to be a good friend of mine, was on their board. And he's the executive director of the Kansas Farmers Union. And so I started paying attention. Afton Bain, who just ran for Congress in Tennessee, was their organizing director at that point in time. And she was running her campaign too. So she was teaching us all how to organize and do stuff in rural while running a campaign for the Tennessee State House. Afton went on. She now, I believe, works with their PAC, and she just ran for Congress. She came in an R. I want to say it was like an R+30 district within 1.8 points of winning in a special election.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she did incredible work.
Here?
This was in Tennessee.
In Tennessee.
So these are the people I was getting on Zoom calls with and being like, okay, how do I organize? How do we do things? As a result of that, I started working with some older people in the Democratic Party, and they were like, okay, how do we organize some of our rural counties? Well, Jim Swim and I got together and we organized Republic County. It was like, oh, this is an amazing feeling. I'm going to organize more counties. I started cold calling people. After getting some lists to some other random people, we organized Smith County. Then I just started canvassing randomly one day in Norton. I organized Norton County. I've been doing something similar in Phillips
and when you
and
say
in Grand
organize,
County.
You mean igniting them, bringing them together,
creating county parties,
and getting the
local
movement
county
of
parties.
building strong county parties in places other than Olathe and Wichita. Wichita's isn't very strong. It's building though. They're doing a lot better. There's a lot more going on than we know is going on.
Well,
they have a whole committee. That's the meeting I was in, was a whole committee.
But urban's different, right? Because you have a population and you don't have the same social rules that we have around here.
It's so much different.
Our biggest problem, I think, out here is that we don't have any power. Our vote is taken for granted. You elect a Republican. I think, no offense to Troy, but Troy Waymaster represents House District 109 right next door.
Yeah.
And Troy is a Republican. he was a Democrat, but he switched party affiliations when he started running for the legislature. Mm-hmm. Now, all credit to Troy. He does get us money back here. He works with Northwest Development and planning quite a bit, and local communities, and all the good things that one should do. But the problem is that the Speaker of the House is still Dan Hawkins. The President of the Senate is still Ty Masterson. Mm-hmm. And they don't give a shit about us out here. In fact, so they feel like basically they have to scrap for what little scraps they will give us, right, as opposed to doing these bigger projects.